And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where they got questions about Elite 11. And look, like Bud Elliott was there. He can give you some of those answers, but no, this is an extra special Elite 11 recap because we are going to get to welcome in a very special guest. We will waste no more time doing it. So let's bring into the show Dia Bell, 5-star quarterback from the class of 2026. He's a Texas Longhorns commit, fresh off that official visit in Austin. Dia, thank you so much for taking some time to join us in a busy, busy summer for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Man, we are fired up. I tell you what, so Dia, I've been talking about you with your dad since you were like 12. Like, because I have a daughter who's the same age, same class. She was playing golf and trying different sports. And I remember your dad, Raja, telling me, he's like, man, he kind of likes football. Because everybody assumes you're going to be a basketball player because your dad had an incredible NBA career. I want to start from the beginning real quick. Just a little background. Why did you decide to go football, maybe not basketball or another sport?
Yeah, growing up, it was always basketball. I wanted to go play basketball at Duke. Like, that's what I was set on. And, as time went on, COVID kind of came around and you couldn't really get in gyms anymore. And I started shifting my focus to football really. And I kind of figured out I could use that as my own navigating tool to kind of create my own name and my own kind of legacy and not kind of be in his shadow in a sense. Cause like you said, he played in the NBA for a really long time. So I kind of felt like it was a great opportunity for me and I really loved it. So COVID year is kind of when I made the choice that I was going to pick football kind of over basketball.
So you got hurt last year. Obviously, season got cut short a little bit. You won the Elite 11, so congrats on that. Obviously, I Danny texted us a long time on the Cover 3 group thread, and after day 2, I was like, hey man, Raja's kid's got a real shot to win this thing, and I know Danny was pretty pumped, but for you, was it kind of a feeling of hey, I'm back to me, coming off the injury?
Yeah, I mean that camp in itself, Elite 11, was probably my first time at a camp being fully almost 100 again. So I was getting back in the groove for sure. The first day when we started, it was a little different for me because throwing the ball in Cali is definitely a little bit different than Florida. But when I got going and we started getting into those drills and stuff like that, I was starting to feel a little bit, and I was just trying to be me and be the best version I could of myself, whether it was on the field or off the field in those meetings we had.
Take me inside your recruitment. How important was it for you to be able to maybe be going into this fall already not having it open and at least being able to make a commitment? Where was that and how did that process go for you?
Yeah, it started way earlier than I would have expected. My first offer was FIU, which was legacy for my mom and dad. For me, being I think that was my freshman going into sophomore year. And throughout that entire process, I made a bunch of great relationships. And then when it kind of came towards the end, I feel like Texas really stood out. When I took my last visit there was for their elite camp, and I took my mom, my dad, and my 2 quarterback coaches, and we kind of did the whole thing again. We did camp. We had meetings with Coach Shark and Coach Milwee, and we did the whole campus tour and stuff like that again. I felt like that place for me was somewhere I thought I could thrive in. My parents are always looking for somewhere that I can get academics as well as play at the highest level and learn from people that are going to get me to the highest level as well. And I felt like Texas kind of fit both those worlds into one. And then for me, I just felt like the staff always made it feel like a second home away from home. And that's kind of something my parents always looked at. So, I mean, Texas always stood out in that sort of sense. And that's kind of why it ended up being them.
Now that you've got that decision out of the way, and it's been this way for a while, but when you make that commitment, you said, all right, I'm going to Austin, your role kind of shifts, right? From being the guy that gets recruited to all of a sudden you try to be the recruiter. You're out there, calling guys. How has that process played out? Is because it's so different than when I played, because we didn't get to meet everybody at 7-on-7 or camp. So we, didn't have relationships. But a lot of these guys we've competed against or played with on different teams. How has that kind of role for you been the last year as you've known you're going to Texas, trying to get some guys to join you?
It's been amazing. Like you said, honestly, I do play one of my fellow commits this year when we play Edna Carr, Hayward Howard, the DB over there. So that's going to be fun. But, building relationships with all these kids at these camps and 7-on-7s or anywhere that we've kind of come in contact with it's been a great experience for me just coming out of my shell, because I'm usually like I'm not very verbal. I'm real quiet. I'm not an outgoing like talking person, but this has kind of made me kind of step out of my comfort zone, because these are the guys I want playing with me at Texas, and we're trying to win national championships. So I'm out there doing my best, as well as all the other commits are out there doing their best, trying to get these guys to hop on board. But it's been a great experience for me, and I kind of use it as a mechanism to step out of my comfort zone and just build relationships that I'll have forever.
Is there a quarterback out there, maybe college or NFL, who you like to watch and see like that guy's game reminds me of mine, or like I hope my game can be like that guy someday, or just something you like to study?
I love to watch Patrick Mahomes. That's probably my favorite guy right now. Obviously you have the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens. I love watching Aaron Rodgers mechanics. Like that's somebody I usually get like my mechanics and stuff from. And you can go all the way back to like Tom Brady's and just like the way he studies and watches film and stuff like that. But in college, I felt like this last year, the sleeper that I was really watching the most was probably Jackson Dart. And just the way he led that Ole Miss team, even though they didn't make it as far as they would have hoped to, like I really like watching him a lot. But those are just some guys I like to watch.
If we gave you the CJ Stroud comp, what are the thoughts? Because that's the one Ivans gave me, and I was like, I don't hate that. What do you think about the Stroud comp?
Yeah, no, I've always watched CJ Stroud. I love watching CJ Stroud, even when he was at Ohio State, because growing up when I lived in Cleveland, I was always a big Ohio State fan. So I always watched Ohio State quarterbacks, and Heartline almost gave me that exact same comp, which is funny. And I love watching him. He's had a great career at Ohio State, and his backstory behind the entire recruiting process for him was amazing to me. And what he's doing with the Houston Texans. I've been watching and following him for forever now. So I love watching him for sure.
Being the Texas quarterback is one of the most pressure-packed jobs in all of college football. Expectations are off the charts. And now we're seeing, Arch Manning is the next man up. And he comes with a tremendous amount of pressure because of, who his uncles are. And, there's all these, expectations on him. Quinn Ewers had the same expectations. What have you learned kind of watching those guys, how they handle the pressure, the criticism, and Arch is about to get into it? What have you kind of learned from watching them, the way they handle it?
I feel like Arch is like the main person you could look to, like to kind of learn how to navigate all that noise and stuff like that. I mean, Quinn definitely had to for sure, but with Arch having the name as well as the like hype around him going into this season, being a first year like starter, I feel like that's something you could definitely look at. Like he doesn't really get fazed by it. He's not worried about it at all. He's waited his time. It's his time now, and hopefully he's going to take full advantage of it. I'm going to be here waiting to watch it and excited to watch it. And then when I get there, if I do get opportunity to learn from him from a year, I will take full advantage of it and be asking questions every day. Because that's somebody you want to learn from. I mean, obviously, if he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and I'm coming in as a freshman, that's somebody you want to pick their brain and kind of take bits and pieces and make it your own. And I feel like he's definitely somebody you could look to and kind of learn from in that sort of space.
Is there something that you can learn from even looking at his path to starter, right? He comes on campus and he really wants to develop, himself. He wants to get used to being on campus. He wants to get used to being a college football player. Is that something that you maybe draw some inspiration to? What is your plan, or has Coach Sarkisian laid out sort of what it might look like in terms of building out, stacking good years over good years to get you to where you want to be at the top of college football?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, like if he does decide to stay the second year, I'll have no problem learning, and that just gives me more time to learn everything and make sure that when it does, or when it becomes my time, I'm as prepared as possible. So I have no problem sitting behind him at all, because that should means that's another person I could pick their brain and learn how they go about learning the offense or go about studying for the next week. And if it doesn't work out like that, he'll probably always be coming back just as well as Quinn will be coming back as well. And I can still pick their brains like that, but I'll have no problem sitting in a room with him and be able to pick him, KJ, and Trey's brain all at the same time, with them being in the system for at least a year and just me being a newbie that I'll be coming on campus. Like, I have no problem doing that. I'll wait my time. I didn't come to start my true freshman year because like it's expected that he stays too, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm coming in, I'm trying to learn and then be as prepared as possible when my time comes. So I'm all for it.
There is the little matter of a bet. Like, talking to Raja, does Danny owe your dad a pair of Jordans?
Does he?
This is the first thing Raja brought up to me when we were watching throw out there. I
don't know that one. I don't know. I've not heard about that.
Yeah, I think that was because we used to do a little shoe showdown because your dad had great shoe game. Mine was all right. It's hard to compete with somebody who played in the NBA and like has exclusive access to stuff. But there's been some smack talk between because your he's a bandwagon Miami fan. That's just he jumped on the Miami Hurricanes bandwagon, and he's always hyping them up. So Miami, Florida State, it might have been something that we mentioned before. And of course, the Hurricanes got the most out of it. But I never got any shoes for the years previous. Like, that's what I'm upset about. I never got some shoes from the years prior. So, we might have to bring that up.
Beef that I'll have to talk to him about. I knew nothing about this.
I didn't want to ask something about your dad, because I love working with your dad. He's awesome. And I think I liked him so much because I knew what a great dad he was for you. And you can see a reflection of your dad by the way you carry yourself. There's a humility there. There's a work ethic there. What is he doing now to kind of keep you grounded? Because now you've got a lot of attention. You've got this. But I don't think that's the end game. I don't think you just want to be a quarterback commit at Texas. I think you want to go there and crush it. And it's even more challenging because now you're able to get on NIL and you have access to things that a lot of high school players didn't. What is kind of your dad and your family, like your mom's a great mom too, I don't want to diminish her. What are they doing kind of to make sure you stay humble and stay focused on what matters the most?
My dad always told me from the day I started playing quarterback and the day I started playing basketball, if you want to be where you want to be in the future, you got to just keep your head down, stay humble, and keep working. Those are the three things he always told me. And I've kind of just lived by that, like throughout my entire career and anything I do, whether that's school, sports. I always want to be the best. I'm like a perfectionist. Like it's bad at sometimes because I don't give myself a break. But they've made it real easy on me, guiding me throughout this entire thing. I've always had them by my side, and as it pertains to him, I've always had him to look up to and just look at how he worked to get to where he was. The same with my mom, getting to play college soccer as well. Like, they're always somebody I could look to and ask for help and help me navigate throughout this entire thing as well.
Yeah, I know there's all these all these new different avenues. The world is so different, but Danny, I'm glad you mentioned that because, Dia, we've got like a group that watches us live. Some of us listen to us later, some watch it later, but all they can talk about is how impressed everybody is right now. I mean, we got, 55-year-olds are saying they'd be stuttering their words and not being able to handle this interview. And here you are, preparing for your senior year of high school, already ready to go. Credit to you, and obviously the family as well. It seems that, everything, all these opportunities, it seems like you've got the right headspace for it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. My dad, as long as he's played, he's kind of learned some in that space as well. And he's always kind of tried to media train me, but not media train me at the same time. He's tried to get me to do questions with him, and it feels very awkward because I know it's him. So those don't go very well. But the stuff he teaches me, I definitely used it, and I've gotten better as time went on. I remember my first interview when I could barely say my name correctly. So I've came a long way, and he's helped me a lot with that. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to use him in all these spaces and kind of grow.
You talked about, recruiting other players. Is there a chance you're recruiting your little brother who's tearing it up on basketball? Like, that is pretty crazy. Like, he's starting to rise up the ranks. Now I'm starting to root for him too. And I saw you send a little shout out online, tell your Texas Longhorns faithful, like, let's get after my little bro. Is he going to be potentially joining there? You recruiting him too?
I want him to be there. If he goes there, hopefully the whole family moves out there. And this is what I'm thinking. But I think it's Coach Miller that's now at Texas coaching basketball now from Xavier. He used to coach my not coach. recruit my godbrother as well at Xavier. So hopefully my godbrother and my brother can end up there with me. We have our little fraternity outside of our sports teams and stuff like that. That would be really cool if we all ended up there. But no, for sure, I definitely want him to be there. I mean, I've grown up with him. He's like my twin brother at this point. Even though we're a year and a half apart, we've grown up doing everything together. So I'm definitely always going to give him the shout out when I can, and hopefully it works out like that. But he's going to have his own path as well that he's going to have to figure out.
I love all the folks in the chat that are Oklahoma fans and A&M fans. I really want to hate this kid, but I just can't. He's awesome.
Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, I know you've got a busy week ahead, Dia, and I really, really appreciate you spending time with us. Congratulations on the success at Elite 11. We're rooting for you. You know, we are absolutely biased here. We are rooting for you and your success, and we appreciate you joining the Cover 3 podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dia.
Enjoyed it.
Coming up on the other side, we get more Elite 11 reaction from Bud Elliott. Tom Fornelli joins the show and more next.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, our thanks to Dia Bell. Just awesome, you know, rooting for him. He was one Elite 11. Dia, you put a hat on? Oh, Tom. Hey, Tom. How's it going? Did you see that somebody in the tailgate was like, man, Tom's hair looks great.
I looked a lot younger too. That was nice to see. Yeah, that was a great interview. That's a good kid.
Yeah,
That was great. He's awesome, man. Raja's a great dad. His mom, they're awesome people. A couple people pointed it out in the chat. Like, I've done a lot of interviews with players who have played multiple years in college that don't do that good of a job when they're dealing with media.
I don't
what a
do
great
that good
kid.
of a job, and I'm in the media.
Right, exactly. Same. And some people also pointing out that Thomas Castellanos could have used a bit of that humility with some of the things he said the last couple days too.
Yeah, hey, no boys. What do we make of that one, huh? What are we making about Thomas running his mouth a little bit?
Are you going to defend it, or who's going negative? Who's going positive?
I'll speak for the Knoll boys. I would rather my QBs talking like that than being like, "Oh golly gee." I'd rather he feels like they can win that game. Now, maybe don't say it publicly, but I'm happy he feels like he can win the game.
I agreed, especially coming off, DJ, who was so quiet, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm sure it's been impressed upon Castellanos that he needs to be a little more, rah-rah, kind of more of a vocal leader. I think the one thing as an FSU guy is like, look, you just went 2-10. It's not like most of these transfers you took, you were beating out like legitimate playoff contenders to get these guys. If your focus is Bama, 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 and you end up getting smoked by let's say they lose by 18 or something like that. It's not a non-competitive game. Do you still take your conference season seriously? Like getting back to a bowl game, getting back to a bowl game comfortably is still probably like the most important, realistic as we sit here right now, goal for this team. And I do wonder, if you think, hey, I'm at Florida State, I just came off wearing the Boston College jersey. This is a school I've always wanted to grow up playing for. Castellanos is 24 years old, probably. Or at least 23.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up watching when FSU was really good. It's not really good right now. Do you think just wearing that jersey means that you're back to what they were, in 2013? That would scare me a little bit. You got to be able to refocus if that game doesn't go well. So I hope they're taking every game seriously. But yeah, I get it. You want to be a little more vocal.
There were two things that kind of bothered me. And one of them that wasn't, I was glad he kind of cleared up some of the Boston College exit stuff, because I think he's taken a lot of criticism, even from me. When I've read the reports that he quit the team, I was like, oh, this kid's a quitter. He gave some details, some background to that. Said they were button heads. There's even more details that he didn't give, but I gave him a little bit more of a pass, and it wasn't really him quitting. It was kind of him being sent packing as well. So what just wasn't healthy. I didn't have a problem with that. I love that he says I have the talent around me to go to New York, to potentially win the Heisman. We can be good. But why would you kick the hornet's nest of Alabama? Like, why would you, like, this is a team that's angry, that has a lot of pressure on them. They had a bad taste in their mouth. And then you call out their coach by saying Nick Saban's not there to save me. And, you know, they're not going to be able to stop me. I've never been a fan of kind of that mentality. But the one thing I've said to anybody who likes to talk trash, if you back it up, then by all means go do it. But it just puts that bullseye so squarely on you. And I don't think Alabama was going to overlook Florida State, but why give them added motivation? You know, they're a 12-point favorite. Let them think all they have to do is waltz into tally and walk away with the win. Now they're kind of coming back with their ears pinned back, just ready to kind of murder somebody. And that's something I never wanted. I was always like, this team is great. Man, they look unbeatable. Like, build them up. That was sort of what Coach Bowden always preached to everybody at the program was, don't give them any bulletin board material. Tell everybody how great they are, and then go kick their butts on the field. You know, that was kind of the modus there. And the other thing was kind of awkward was saying, I'm playing for people's jobs. You know, guys have to put their food on the table, you know, coaches. And I thought that was pretty interesting that he kind of alluded to.
I don't love that power dynamic.
Yeah.
No.
This is sad.
He
This
also
is
definitely,
so
like,
sad. 2 years ago, Alabama stole your playoff berth, and now you're sitting here tucking your tail between your legs, scared that your quarterback's talking shit about him. You should be supporting him 100%. What if he's right? I mean, there's the thing.
Right.
Like you just said it. Alabama's not going to have any extra motivation. It's Florida State. They're not going to come unprepared. And they weren't sitting around saying, oh, golly gee, now that he said this, I'm going to go kick their butts. No, go out there. Get your quarterback talking crap. Get the team riled up. Go out there and shock the world, man. Come on. Support your guy.
He also kind of threw his old teammates under the bus.
Did he? I didn't hear that part. What did he say?
Kind of like he was like, what did he say? I was 11-0 in the ACC as a starter, I think it was, or something like that. I'm trying to get like the quote correct, but it felt like
he also
like, much better
trashed
players.
Florida.
I was like, do you?
He kind of trashed Florida State. He was like, look how awesome I was in both the openers. And guess what? It wasn't Florida State's opener, but his opener last year was beating Florida State.
He said, I finally have good players around me, which I don't think is that wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, his O-line is definitely worse. Receivers are probably slightly better. Backs.
I don't know, man. His left tackle might be a starting left tackle as a rookie in the NFL this year.
No, I'm saying at Florida State, they're definitely worse than what they were at Boston College on the offensive line. Like, I don't think there's any debate about that.
He also, after beating Duquesne in week 2 last year, 5 days after the Florida State win, they're like, was that turnaround tough? He was like, yeah, I mean, because unlike Florida State, we have to go to class. I mean, this guy was just like ripping FSU all last season.
You know, he's always been super, like, even back to as a recruit, I mean, he's always been super, super, super confident. Like, he went to UCF because they would give him a shot to play quarterback, right? And Florida State and Georgia wanted him as a running back. And now that Florida State hired Malzahn to save Norvell's job, and they're running that spread option stuff, well, now you can come play quarterback there, right? It's a maybe not the quarterback role that you envision, but at least you're doing it. Like, the guy's always had this incredible self-belief that can get you in trouble sometimes, but also my guess is, like,
falls in line with everything he's shown us. And that's kind of where I was like, okay, because I mean, you know, something like this, obviously you're going to get called onto the Noah hour of HQ, you know, up there with BMAC, you know, we're breaking this down. I was like, guys, this is just Thomas Castellanos being Thomas Castellanos. You know, even on the field, his playmaking style is like, no, I can do this. I mean, he's just surging with confidence. So sorry, little sidetrack there, but I know we hadn't gotten a chance to discuss that. And it did make waves a little bit this week. But let's I'll let you sort of guide us as how you want to break this down. I got a couple of questions to just at least pick your brain, but Elite 11, you're back. We got a chance to celebrate the Dia's success. There was a lot more going on there. What were some of the things that really stood out to you that we, and of course all the Cover 3 listeners, need to be tracking moving forward?
Yeah, so this is the best I've ever seen Dia look, right? And you watch this kid, and just he's like never rushed and like never flustered, and just kind of like operating at his own tempo. In 7-on, he was the first guy to go in 7-on, and that at times can be a little bit rough. And I was doing our like Instagram story recaps, and I was like, put on there. I was like, I think he probably just won this, and I've seen a lot of these, and I was like, I'm not trying to like just be boisterous and bold here. Like he really didn't make any mistakes. Like, damn, he could have gone just a little bit faster, maybe get one more drive in, shove in that 5th touchdown. But then at the gun, he throws an absolute just 25-yard, 20-yard seed to win it on a touchdown on the final one. I was like, well, that's pretty perfect. And just you look at this guy and you look at Raja and Dia. I'm not saying he's like crazy young, but he's still kind of babyface. I think there is probably more upside physically that's going to be unlocked under Dia. Like post-injury, he can work out more now, right? Like I think genetically, I would be surprised if he's done at 6'2.5", 210. Right? I bet you this guy is going to continue growing. I do think that he is a meaningfully better prospect than the last 2 that Texas has signed. Right? I expect him to go in there and beat out KJ. And I think he is probably the guy for Texas post-Arch. And like there are levels to this thing. And Dia just looks really, really good. And it's clean. I mean, mechanically, you see it's not some kind of crazy long windup. I think there's a lot of room to grow into his frame. His frame might not be done growing. As I already said, I think he's a very smart player. Ivans has seen him play in person a lot on Friday nights. He's like, man, the guy just, not that Heritage gives up a lot of pressure, because that's a pretty stacked team. But when he does get pressured, he doesn't seem to like flee the pocket for no reason. And like he moves in the pocket, pretty darn well. So I think if you're a Texas fan, you got to be over the moon about this. And like that guy he's good, man. Like he's really good.
It's the reason I think one of the things when you're saying Ivans had him compared to CJ Stroud, there's some guys that it just looks very natural and comfortable, and it looks effortless. I think that's what it looks like with Dia when he's throwing the football. It's not a labor. It's not like he has to have his feet under him. When he does, then you see the ball jump, but he can make throws off platform. And that one, the 25-yard rope you just showed there in the highlights, that ball to the back of the end zone, he's got plenty of velocity. But the thing I love about it is how effortless it looks. Like there's some guys who look like natural throwers of the football. I think he's got it in spades.
It was also windy out there on the first night. And I love that because you can kind of see which guys that like the ball dies on. I'm like, okay, California, 78 degrees, cool. Like we're calling this work. This is pretty nice for a work day, but at least the wind picked up. Like, all right, cool. A little bit chilly, put on the jacket, like got the wind whipping a little bit. And we saw which guys can really, cut it through there. And that at a camp with 20 elite-ish quarterbacks, that does, like, you got to have some differentiating factors. So I thought the arm strength was a little bit better than I realized it was going to be. And that's why I asked him about the injury. Like, did you finally feel back? Because, I mean, maybe like the ceiling is just going up and up and up on this guy. So I was really encouraged there.
Who else? Let's get some names.
Okay,
get some fan
Keyshawn
bases fired up.
Keyshawn Henderson. I mean, holy cow. This guy is a dude who would be like a top 5 receiver or DB if we had to like rank him as an athlete. Big time build, big time arm, probably made the best throw of the entire week during pro day. A guy that focused playing solely on quarterback. Now he is committed to Houston. Dude, he is like upside. I don't think anybody else in the country has more upside than Keyshawn Henderson. Like this is a rare prospect. I know a lot of schools have made big time runs at this kid with big time money, and he has stayed committed to Houston. Houston's obviously all committed to keeping him. Like it's a prospect that you probably get a shot at if you're Houston, I don't know, like once every 30 or 40 years. So you got to kind of do all you can to keep him home. Obviously, he wants to play close to home to his family. He's just also like personality-wise, the moment does not seem too big for this kid. All the little kids follow him around, and you might say, why does that matter? But like I think there's real like some dynamism to his personality, right? Like the guy, like all the other players seem to look up to him. I think he's a real good. I don't get into some of this like rah, or he was a great leader at Elite 11, but you can kind of tell why guys would play hard for this dude. So he had some receivers out there dropping some passes for him, and he's up there telling them, and I'm like, man, these guys, like the one kid quit on this route. And he's like, hey man, I really appreciate you guys staying run hard. I know you're tired because he was one of the last ones to go. He's like, let's finish strong, and he could have said nothing, right? And obviously, like Keyshawn's not an idiot. He knows some of these guys. Like you saw that drop ball right there. Like, there's some of these guys were victims of drops more often than not. But for me, I wanted to see how he would do in like more of a structured passing setting because I've seen him play 7-on at non-quarterback positions as well, and he's fully focused on playing QB now. And I was kind of going into this with like, all right, if he shows like a certain minimum baseline level of passing, I'm gonna be really excited. And he was way above that. So he was probably the one guy for me who was actually in contention to beat out Dia. And then Dia goes and just basically is perfect first 7 on games. Like, all right, well, that'll be hard to beat. But man, if you're Houston, you got to be so excited. Like, this is the best prospect the Big 12 signed non-Texas Oklahoma division in forever. Assuming
Since
he's
Avery? Avery was a
I think he's better than Avery.
Okay.
Like as an athlete, like frame, body, like yeah.
Was that the correct poll? I just went off the top of my head the last time.
Yeah, I think as far as quarterback polls,
like high school signee to a Big 12 school right now that everyone seems excited
that
about.
is not Texas and OU. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the? We'll go to the tailgate here. This is just sort of a big picture one. But Brett in the tailgate, he jumped in at 8:23 a.m. We appreciate you, Brett. But if you ran Elite 11, would you change the format of any of the drills?
Okay, so I would probably try to do a little bit more during the day for a couple reasons. One, I think you would get more media coverage of it, right? Like if we're starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time, that's 9 o'clock on the East Coast. And it obviously, like, I don't need to explain time zones to everybody, but just, kind of cascading down. So this just going 2.5, 3 hours. How many people are staying up past midnight to watch this? Like not some, certainly, but not everybody. So I think like the weather-wise, having it out in Cali is amazing. I would want to take advantage of that a little bit more and have a little bit more, during the day. It's also this is very media standpoint, but if I ran it, I'm going to have media in mind. Like the nighttime stuff is a lot harder to shoot if you don't have like really professional rigs out there, right? Like iPhone is great, but I would think, let's do more of it during the day. I understand why they don't. They do a lot of really cool leadership with these kids, like take them like Navy SEAL stuff or take them surfing and do a bunch of really cool things. And, in order to get guys to come out there in the NIL era, I think you do have to make it fun. Not everybody wants to just go compete. Some probably would play at a parking lot the next day. And I should have mentioned that about Keyshawn, by the way. That's a guy, like, you'll go to just some random events, like, why the hell is Keyshawn Henderson here? And but the good dude just loves ball and just loves to play. And I do like that aspect of some of these guys. Some of these dudes, if they're only playing because they get paid or something like that I get it. But also, a lot of these dudes, I like if they have the inner drive to continue to play football more. Change the drills. No, I think they've done a better job of that probably post – I don't know, probably 10 years ago, they had drills that I thought were way too like West Coast pocket quarterback focused. And certainly like it's important to be able to throw from the pocket and operate from the pocket. That's where most of the game happens. But like some of the movement skills, some of the stuff that, shows the ability to avoid the rush, some of the quick feet stuff, that's simulated a lot more now than it used to be. You can kind of see the guys who can't move. It used to be just kind of stand and throw. It was the best camp we had, but they have done a good job of improving it. So I like that. Like the accuracy challenge, I don't know how much I get from that. I typically tend to watch the pro days when that's going on, but it is something that you got to hit targets. I know Dan Mullen believes in it quite a bit. Like I've been to a Florida camp before, and he's like, if you can't stand there and hit a stationary target, I have concerns about your accuracy. And I think Leach did the same thing at his camp. So they know a lot more about quarterback than I do. So maybe we keep that one, And then I think the third thing, it would be cool, but not financially doable probably, if they could fly out their own high school receivers. Because like which team you get stuck with or are fortunate enough to have really does matter. When I was doing the live commentary, I tried to note this. It was like, okay, if you get the green team, which is Cal Poly, against some of these other matchups that and granted, these are all high school kids. They're out there volunteering, almost no elite prospects on the 7-on-7 day. There was like one tight end who I thought was pretty solid for Cal Poly. And there was a safety on I think it was the blue team. It was pretty good. We got the names. Not really important for this larger discussion. But I mean, like Ponatowski, the kid who's uncommitted but probably is going to go play pro baseball. He throws 97. I thought he had the second best 7-on-7 day of anybody. Honestly, he was great, and it was coming right off Dia, and they had like 5 ridiculous drops, like drops that kind of had to get to you at some point. I think you're only making 19 throws. If you get 5 drops, like what the hell? And I know the kid throws 97 in baseball, so it's probably a velo thing. Like these high school kids are not used to catching that ball. Yeah. But I mean, it was for dimes. Like, God, like this is probably the second or third best workout. Now, granted, a couple guys had some really good ones as well later on in the day, but Oregon is on him. Kentucky's on him. I think Arkansas is on him as well. So on the off chance he does play college football, and he said he really likes football quite a bit, that would be a real interesting guy to watch. Matt Ponktowski, who plays both ways at Moeller in Cincinnati, which is a pretty classic baseball school as well.
Cool. Do the players get paid? Do the high school players get, like, do they get something, a stipend, anything?
I don't think the Elite 11 pays them to go out there. No. Which is also why, like, could you really afford to fly all your receivers out and house them? Probably not. Right.
Right.
That's, especially from some of these places, it's not cheap flights from the middle of nowhere. Who else do we have from the chat?
All right, so we've got this one is another, or how about Jared Curtis? This one, Hunter. But thoughts on Jared Curtis not doing Elite 11?
I think he's been banged up, and Georgia commit. I go to a lot of events. I've never actually seen him in person, so I don't really have a real strong opinion on Jared Curtis. Most of the elite kids out there, or most of the elite kids in the country, did go this year, especially the very top kids, I think. So, I'm sure Georgia is happy with Curtis. Obviously, we know Oregon was in on that one as well, and like the kid clearly has some talent. I just don't have a lot more to say because he's never at anything I'm at. So hopefully he can just put together a string of, and I don't mean this sarcastically. Like I hope that he can put together a string of being healthy. Right?
Why is Jared Curtis scared of Bud?
I know this is the new recruiting storyline. Jared Curtis is ducking Bud. Fearful. I don't know if I like that out of a quarterback.
Mike Bobo's keeping him under wraps. He's like
that's why Mike Bobo heard the Cover 3 podcast is trying to get him hired as the head coach of every job that's open, and so now he's biting us back with this one. What about the sort of buzz? You're not the only one there, and you're definitely not the only one with knowledge there. A lot of conversations as you're sitting around and watching these guys. Are there any, recruiting battles? Are there any of these players who we should be able to keep an eye on in terms of the quarterback dominoes as we get into the fall? Or did you get the sense that a lot of these guys, what it says on their 24/7 profile, they're pretty much locked up at this point?
So no, there are actually quite a few uncommitted guys. So now Bo Bentley was uncommitted. He actually ended up committing to Oklahoma, which surprised me a little bit because he, in a conversation I had with him after, was it day 1 or day 2? Really cool kid, by the way. By the way, he housed a kickoff return in the Texas State playoffs when he was playing the receiver. Now that he's playing quarterback full time, also a really nice week for him, I thought, and much better than he was at the Tampa Regional. I went to the Tampa Regional, again, perfect conditions, indoor Bucks facility. I was like, this the dude? Wasn't real impressed. And I talked to him at Elite 11. He's like, oh, like I had to shut down my throwing for like 6 months. My arm was sore. I was doing too much, and I felt really good out here. Like, yeah, bro, it showed for sure. But I thought he was going to LSU after talking to him on day 2 because he had used the word "we" when I was chatting him up to refer to LSU. And so I don't know if it was just maybe he really liked both. I mean, obviously, liked both schools a ton. Went to the wire with both of them, but an excellent get for Oklahoma. And I do think there's a chance that, like, what if everything goes right for Oklahoma this year? What if they go like, I don't know, 8-5, right? You like 7-5 regular season, you get the bowl game win there. Then you got it set up pretty nicely because Bentley can really play. A super athletic kid, pretty quick strike. The arm is nice, and it was just nice that a lot of guys looked the best they've looked, like on the national stage compared to some of what they showed at regionals, which was kind of cool, And like much like Dia said, finally getting healthy, finally feeling good, and that was fantastic there. Other uncommitted guys, so Bryson Beaver, kind of an Oregon Ole Miss battle. I know Ole Miss is really pretty hard on him. I think South Carolina people feel pretty good about Landon Duckworth, super athletic guy. I think if he goes to South Carolina, I would be surprised if he plays early. The talent is nuts. Some of the throws he made were insane, crazy athletic. I do think that if you're legitimately bad at 7-on-7, like being good at 7-on-7 doesn't mean you'll be good. And I used to think if you're bad at 7-on-7 means you can't be good, but that's not true. I do think if you're like legitimately struggling in 7-on-7, it probably means your development's going to take a little bit longer once you get to the college game, because there's certain things of like just more reps, seeing it more, right? So I like Duckworth, upside long term quite a bit, but maybe not super early on in his career. Oscar Rios is a guy that UCLA is on really hard. Who else is uncommitted here? Ponitowski are already mentioned. Travis Burgess never really tailed off, Chip. I think Bill Belichick got one.
Yeah.
If I can go back in time for a second, did you say there's a guy named Bryson Beaver?
Yes.
Who's getting interest from Oregon?
Yes.
Yeah.
That should go well.
Yeah. See, Tom, this has been a big thing on recruiting social media, man.
I don't see how that can work. Like, I don't know. That'd be Dan Lanning's first big mistake. You can't have a Beaver in your quarterback room.
That brings it. They tried to cancel the Civil War as a name for that rivalry. I think Bryson Beaver going to Oregon. That'll bring it right back.
He could change the pronunciation like Joe Theismann when he went from Theismann to Theismann. He'd be like Bivet or something,
It's Baver. It's Baver. Bryson Baver. I declare.
Oh, that's so good. Let's just do this one last one. Garrett, our friend, he said, what quarterback has in the past has had a bad showing at Elite 11 and then went on to have an awesome college career? Or if you want to do the inverse of that, good showing at Elite 11 didn't quite pan out. And just a time from your own experience covering the event, either being there or just tracking it, where those two things did not connect.
Sean White won the Elite 11.
Whoa. The Flying Tomato at Auburn?
Yeah. And never, I'm not saying he was awful at Auburn. Like, he did start for a little bit, but he certainly didn't upgrade. Like, there are certainly guys who won the Elite 11. Look up history here, just like I can refresh my memory. But there are definitely some guys who won it who were not, great, right?
Brock Berlin.
Did he win it? I wasn't covering it back then.
1999.
Okay, that's a while ago. Who won it in? So 2016. That was a bad year to pick because 201. They've had a pretty nice run. Justin Fields didn't suck. All right, scrolling back here.
Oh, he did after a while.
Okay, here's one. Shea Patterson in 2015.
Ooh.
Didn't pan out at all. I mean, we're going back a decade here. If you look, I do think, and this is something that Ivans and I were chatting about before the flight. So Spencer Rattler won it in 18. I mean, Spencer Rattler got drafted, was a starter at multiple different programs. He didn't suck. He just got beat out by a generational guy who went number 1 overall named Caleb Williams. I feel like Spencer
Rattler has talent.
Yeah.
If your point is to
evaluate days of the NFL, right?
I
mean, CJ Stroud won it in 19. That's gone. That's gone okay. Caleb Williams won it in 20. I feel like that worked out pretty solid. Cade Klubnik won in 21. So I feel like if you win this, it especially post changes maybe a decade ago that they emphasize a little more athleticism. Also, they used to kind of, how do you put this in a nice way? Because I understood what they were doing. I disagreed with it at the time, but it used to be of the 20 guys, you had to watch about 10 or 12. And there were some guys there who had awesome high school stats, but they didn't really have the tools that would suggest they would be great at the next level, right? And they would be really good at some of the drills. And I think that's probably why maybe some of the emphasis was, let's change the drills to emphasize who can actually make college level throws, right? There is a difference in talent and stats. Some of these guys put up crazy high school stats, but maybe it doesn't translate all the time to college or especially to the pros.
Trivia. Jameis Winston was a co-Elite 11 MVP in 2011. Do you know who the guy he was with? You probably won't. It was Tanner Mangum.
Oh, okay.
So there's one. Wait, Tanner Mangum. Oh, okay.
It was triple co-MVPs for that year.
What? Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. There was a third. It was Neil Burcham.
Wow.
I would say one of those three had a better career than the others.
That was a legitimately bad year. I'm going to read you off the 11. Austin Appleby, Neil Burcham, Shane Dillon, Bart Houston, Chad Kelly. Okay.
Swag.
Machine Gun Kelly, Zach Klein, Jeff Lindquist, Tanner Mangum, Zeke Pike, who actually did have a lot of skills, just didn't work out. Chad Wojcik, and then Jameis. And remember, Jameis didn't play any 7-on-7 stuff because he was a baseball kid. So that probably was closer than than you thought.
So Shea Patterson followed Swag before he transferred to Michigan, and the tailgates jumped all over this. And I gotta say, the props here. 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 2018 for the Wolverines, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 2019 for the Wolverines. I mean,
so he's kind of in that Sean White territory.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
He started for a major college program.
He started multiple years for a major for Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines, not the ones that won Big Ten titles or beat Ohio State. You know, the ones that lost to Ohio State, and we're winning what, like 8, 9, 10 games a year. But good job, Shea.
It's also interesting, like to see some of the guys they got picked over. So
yeah,
Asante Woolard in 2012 did get picked over a guy named Jared Goff, who, despite not winning the Elite 11, and by picked over, like that's probably not the right term, right? Like, I'm not saying these guys don't go out and earn it. That guy was pretty good. Jared Goff was pretty good. A guy named Josh Dobbs also ended up starting some games in the NFL as well.
I was looking up 2014 Blake Barnett won, beat out Kyler Murray, Josh Rosen, Jarrett Stidham.
Trash.
Drew Lock.
Trash.
Was in that class.
And that's how Blake Barnett was in 5 different Alabama quarterback battles.
And Josh Rosen.
Nick Saban would drop the or on the depth chart every single year in August. And Blake Barnett always got the or. But 3 games into the season, I tell you what, Blake Barnett's time was done a couple years in a row.
That was a
season
good year.
or week 4 nor.
Yeah.
That was a really, really good year. I mean, Brady White started for Arizona State and Memphis and was pretty damn good. And physically, like this kid's not close to these other guys. Like Rosen, Stidham, all those dudes. It was, whoa, okay, like that's physically that's different. Some of the years are not always created like that. Who won in 15? Oh, Shea Patterson, that's right. But who did Shea Patterson beat out? Well, some pretty good players actually, including Dwayne Haskins. But like not a ton of great players.
Yeah.
McElwain, Costello, Eason. I mean,
Also, wasn't Shea like the first pick of the UFL draft?
Oh, that's fair.
I think he was the first pick ever.
I
Yeah,
remember
like
that.
The Michigan Panthers. Yeah. So sorry, Shea, for us disrespecting you.
Listen, accountability. It is a core tenet here. So props to you, Shea Pat. Did he play this spring?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We've gone over this. I don't watch that stuff.
Once I figured out that Skip Holtz was running a dynasty in Birmingham, just winning and winning and winning and winning, I got a little bit intrigued, then I got distracted. All right. So any other final Elite 11 specific topics? I've got a recruiting storyline that has to do with the 2026 class that I want to be able to hit, though. Fans may not be able to see him till 27, but we'll have those updates as well.
Finishing the thought, Travis Burgess, like way up in the rankings, I would assume. I don't make him, but he didn't look any deficient in his game compared to the other guys who are high 4 stars and 5 stars there. Like, need to continue to see it, but kind of a cool story. Military kid, moved around some, seems to be pretty driven. The frame is really nice. The guy's going to keep filling out. Athletic. I was very impressed by the polish and the poise he had when throwing. Now, granted, there's not really rushers coming at you most of the time, but there is some pressure to it's 20 throws. You're trying to be perfect, and he was hitting them pretty nice, pretty good in 7-on-7. Looking good on the first night as well. And certain guys just kind of have a look. Like maybe Kyler Murray didn't have the look, and he exceeded expectations, but.
Travis is big. Travis is a big kid.
Yeah. On average, I'm going to take the guy that has the build, the athleticism, and throws the ball well. Like, if you want to take the outliers, I'll take the non-outliers, and we'll fight it out. Over the long term, I'm going to win. So he was. I think if you're a North Carolina fan, you got to be really excited about Burgess.
Absolutely. All right, coming up on the other side, BYU lands its highest-rated recruit in the modern era. EA Football 26 has some stadium rankings they've released and more. Next.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, big news made on the recruiting trail this week as 5-star quarterback Ryder Lyons announced that he would be committing to BYU. He chose the Cougars over Oregon. 6'2", 205-pound quarterback out of California. My understanding, Bud, is we'll do mission next year, and then he ends up joining the Cougars officially for 2027. It is, as I mentioned before the break, in the recruiting database era, he is the highest rated prospect that BYU has pulled in. This follows the basketball program being able to secure the commitment of AJ DeBanza. DK, I see you nodding your head right here. Are we like, how do we adjust how high does this go in terms of BYU's unprecedented, by its own school history, unprecedented success in securing top talent?
I think this is one. Remember, BYU was one of the first schools to really embrace NIL when they gave everybody a deal. I think it was like a protein bar company. There was some local company that was like all in. They were one of the first ones that kind of distributed money to the entire team. BYU has deep pockets, and I think they're showing a willingness to spend it. They have their own TV network. They have the LDS, following is a massive following. So it's a major bonus for them to have a fan base, which I think is hungry to win and willing to spend to do so. It's a pretty good home field advantage with the altitude, but they always get great support. I've always blown away. I've called games there. Provo's gorgeous. Like, I think they're showing a true commitment to want to be good in basketball and football. And I think they're showing their willingness to spend money in order to do so.
I mean, yes. Also, take a look at the quarterback recruiting out there and see where these guys are going. Now, it's not like you're not going to see some of the top guys out there, and so Faison Brandon's going to Tennessee, number one guy, really, really good player. I should have mentioned him in Elite 11. He was really solid, clearly a top, top half, top third guy out there, and we've seen him a lot. But Keyshawn's going to Houston, and yeah, Jared Curtis is going to Georgia, but Ryder's going to BYU. Landon Duckworth, South Carolina, most likely. Bo Bentley, Oklahoma, that's a blue blood. But, Jake Fett, Arizona State, that's kind of cool. I mean, you're seeing some more of these teams get some of these top guys. And I think NIL and fit, obviously, and playing time does, that all matters. But, I mean, that, shoot, what if Texas Tech got in the high school recruiting game more? They got a lot of money to spend.
They just spent it on the portal this year,
right.
But, you could retarget that.
Yeah, they're crushing it.
His name is Ryder Lyons.
Yeah.
That's a 5-star name. I've never seen the kid. I've never seen him throw a football, but his name is Ryder Lyons. He's going to be good.
You know who he kind of looks like? I mean, I mean this as a compliment. He's got a little bit, how producer Coca has kind of a good looking face, his facial features are good looking. He's got some Coca to him, and just
you're saying Coca has good looking features to his
his
is
face.
Coca good looking, or does he just have good looking
he
features?
is good. He is
could Coca be a model? No. Would he get kicked off the set if he was an extra in a movie? Probably not. Right?
He's got.
There are parts of Coca's face that I find appealing, and then there are other parts where I am disgusted by them.
Who the hell is this guy?
It's I'm going deeper than just saying he's good looking. I'm just saying that you got a good aesthetically pleasing face, and I feel like that Ryder Lyons has got some Coca to him.
Chip misses Coca's aesthetically pleasing face.
Mike is beautiful.
He did go 46-6 touchdown interception ratio if you're into that, and then
That's
rushed
decent.
14.
Yeah.
So it's a 60 touchdown season. His brother plays tight end at USC.
It is
Chip,
remarkable.
if you were to build a perfect face out of the features of me, Danny, and Bud, whose features would you pick and why?
I would go Tom eyes.
Really? Okay.
Tom nose, Tom mouth, Tom. Yeah.
It's a clean sweep.
It's a clean sweep for Tom.
The man has taste, folks. What do you do?
It is interesting because when BYU was an independent and when Bronco had left, and if you had told me at a point maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago that BYU would be on this surge in a power conference in the Big 12 and having this kind of success and upward trajectory. I'd probably be surprised. I wondered if they were going to be able to survive in the modern landscape, and I was wrong. They are thriving in the modern landscape. So kind of a cool success story of a very motivated community getting behind their football and their basketball. So I am not putting a ceiling. The ceiling is the roof, as my fellow Chapel Hill graduate said at one time. Exciting times for BYU. Bud, you are also our foremost EA Sports. You got inside the belly of the beast a little while ago. You're able to tell us some of what you learned in terms of the gameplay, in terms of what to expect. We got the stadium rankings from EA Sports College Football 26. I've got them right here in case you haven't got to look at them. LSU checking in at number 1, Penn State at 2, Ohio State at 3, Georgia at 4, Alabama at 5, and then rounding out your top 10, Clemson, Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon, or Michigan. I guess for anybody here, any takeaways from looking at the EA Sports College Football 26 stadium rankings?
I don't think Michigan should be that high. If that means they're top 10, I think they're more like top 30. The way the stadium's built, it's just not that loud. Wait, is this like who has the coolest stadiums or who's like the loudest, most intimidating stadiums?
Toughest stadiums.
Okay,
yeah, toughest stadiums to play in. Like where the impact, where the meter is going to make it so that your pass routes look shaky on a big third down.
Almost like if like they're thinking like the Michigan guys like know your plays or something like that. So yeah, I guess from that standpoint I could see it. Do we really think Ohio State is tougher to play in than the Swamp or Clemson? I don't.
Yes.
I think those places are louder. I think Ohio State has better players than they do.
I don't know. I mean, I think Ohio Stadium's pretty loud. I think the problem with Ohio Stadium is, and this is where I think the difference would be with Florida and LSU, is the fans are a little too far away from the field.
It's like a Big Ten issue.
Yeah.
A lot of those stadiums are like that.
The older stadiums, because they had tracks around them and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, there's way too much distance between the fans and this. If they could fix that somehow, I think that place would be one of the tougher places to play for sure. What I don't get is Oklahoma's on here. Oklahoma lost at home last year to Tennessee and South Carolina. Didn't seem that hard. Didn't seem that intimidating.
They did have a really long win streak for some time at home, or like basically almost never lost at home. But yeah, I would,
because they always played Texas and Dallas and just rolled through the rest of the Big 12 schedule. Now,
so wait, did is A&M on there?
11.
Oh yeah,
so A&M
won last year. Yeah.
But this is sort of at its peak, your best team against, your best environment. I mean, I get why they have some of these teams on there because it's easy to throw. Florida State's on this list. Memphis beat them last year at home. If it was based off last year, they shouldn't be on the list at all. But historically, when it's going, it's one of the best atmospheres out there. Because people are trying to trash Penn State, saying, "Oh, what's the big deal about a whiteout?" They, bringing up some of their numbers against Ohio State when they played them. Well, at their best, they're probably not that tough team to beat. And doesn't matter where you play them.
I think some people need to experience doing whatever it is they're supposed to do. Like whatever your job is, go do your job standing in the middle of a field surrounded by over 100,000 people screaming at you and then tell me it's not a big deal.
Right.
Kyle, this is
golfing and there's 100,000 people in Penn State and you're sitting there lining up your drive. You're telling me you're not slicing the hell out of that thing?
I was thinking about how, there's how loud does it get? Like the moment a lot of stadiums can get really loud the moment that team comes out of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
But when you've got the sustained violence that can go all the way through into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, like isn't it Autzen? Or they just might not sit down.
Loud.
Austin's not even that big
compared
to the biggest stadiums in college football, but they just stand and scream for 4 hours.
Yeah. And there's a duck on a motorcycle.
Yeah, Autzen Stadium, number 9 on this list as well. Any other takeaways from the list?
Bud had to leave. Illinois, where are they at on the list? Come on. Memorial Stadium? That's a madhouse. Nobody beats the Illini in Memorial Stadium. Except for Minnesota last year.
Corey in the tailgate. Provo at night should deserve its own asterisk.
Yes. And
Like BYU's not in the top 25. I guess I can understand that, but man, Provo at night.
I love for Carter Finley there at Raleigh at NC State. Them showing up. It's always a tough place to play. It's just, and it was for Florida State. They can get loud, not the biggest. They can get rowdy.
Is Rice Eccles on the list?
Yeah, right in front of. I believe they're right in front of.
Okay.
They're 220. They're 20.
Okay,
it's another great crowd.
I'll accept that.
Yeah,
Oklahoma State, when they're good, I feel like that's one of those stadiums where, especially at night, like, because again, the fans are right there on the sideline. Like, you watch those games on TV, and the sideline looks like it's about 7 feet wide, and they got those giant ass paddles just smacking the hell out of it. That's a scary place to play.
If you were there, like if you were doing this, if you were creating this list, what do you think is the best way to do it? Like, would you get out the whole, the sideline reporter, she's on the field, and they'll have like the noise meter, and it's like how many decibels. Would you do it that way, or would you have it like, what are they saying while you're out there? Because I do think there's a distinct difference. Like, there's one thing in just being loud, but when they're saying certain things or calling up like, there's smart loud fans that kind of know how to get in your head right behind the bench.
So what you're
just loud.
Like at the White Sox Diamondbacks game last night, there were like 5,000 people in the stands, but one of them made a player cry. So which would you rate higher?
Yeah, that was.
I would talk to players. I would ask players to say, like, when you are on the field, where, to Tom's point, is it difficult for you to do your job? And I love hearing players talk about, the spots, because sometimes it is surprising, and it's going to be based on their own experience where, they were in this. There is probably someone who's played a game in Husky Stadium and been like, that is the loud, because of that's another Carter Finley straight up. It's the opposite of the big house. Instead of going out, Carter Finley's basically straight up. Husky Stadium is built with those little like sound reflectors on top of the stadium to be able to keep all the sound trapped inside. There are going to be nights where any one of these are going to be able to break your decimal meter or have people thinking that this is going to be where you go.
Where's Notre Dame on the list? Are they on it?
Yeah, 21.
All right. That to me is an overrate. That to me is tradition more than anything. Because I've been to Notre Dame Stadium for a lot of games. And I feel like a lot of that crowd, maybe it's changed recently because I haven't been there in a few years, but a lot of that crowd was kind of the older sit down and watch kind of folks who weren't really getting into it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like that's a little too much for Notre Dame. There's probably some places I'd have higher than that.
Big Dean Dome vibes. Like I was talking with our friend Michael Felder. He was writing in his newsletter about the blue hairs. I'd forgotten that term. It's like the gray-haired people who gave all the money to build the Dean Dome, so they get all the good seats that are near the floor. They're not exactly standing up as much as students would or making as much noise. Yeah, I could see that.
I would argue the Notre Dame press box is sometimes louder than the stadium.
Wisconsin at 15. I feel like we've been dogging on Wisconsin a lot recently. Do you think that Wisconsin at its best still deserves top 20 status?
At its best. I think that in recent years, it's kind of been fading. Like, there's a lot of Wisconsin games where I'm wondering where the students went in the fourth quarter because they're not there anymore. Like,
they stay right to the fourth quarter, and then
that's what I'm saying. They stick around for jump around, and then they're leaving.
Right.
And it's like that's a bad look.
Yeah, it was really tough in that Alabama game. Tyler Van Dyke gets hurt. The game goes sideways. Bang, bang, and we've got this big stage. Alabama's in town. You look up in the stands, and it was empty and out for sure. All right, we have a big. Clean out the big old bag of mail episode coming your way, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Of course, we're going to be taking questions from the tailgate all throughout the show. Your reaction to anything that we discussed this week and anything else that we need to hit. If you have been getting in Spotify comments, we appreciate you. We're going to hit some of those as well. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Danny Kanell. You can follow me at Chip _Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.